Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 15th of April, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar. We see here the dollar index is lower this morning and just trending below the chart. So still bearish in the short term, but medium and long term bullish. So we expect that that short-term trend will change. We see the Eurodollar looking a bit stronger again this morning. It's been trending up the last week, but still medium and long-term bearish. The dollar yen chart is the one I look at the most for what's happening with the dollar, and here we see the dollar as bullish, which really makes me think that we will see the dollar recover. It's bullish on all three time frames as well. Sterling is fairly flat, really waiting for the next moves on Brexit, and that's been delayed now. So, for the moment, quite a lot of uncertainty around sterling against the dollar. Against the euro, sterling is weaker. Bitcoin still holding the $5,000 level since that jump just over a week ago. Interestingly, we're holding the gains. That's bullish. We're back bullish. That's back into bullish territory as well. So looking quite good there. S&P 500 index was up 0.6% on Friday, and we see it just ticked up there on the daily candle and that weekly candle. Not as strong as the week before, but starting to get near nudging the previous high. So it'll be very interesting to see if we can break that. The Nasdaq also similarly pushed higher in the week, and the Dow Jones index was up 1% on Friday. It's nudging resistance as well. If we can break this move, that's really almost getting on for 18 months of sideways to then break and run would be quite significant. So watch this space. The broader-based Russell 2000 index nowhere near its previous high, so it has more work to do. Smaller caps just haven't caught up as much as the blue chips. We're down slightly on the futures this morning. The S&P future down 0.7%, the Nasdaq E-mini down 0.13%. Not really enough of a percentage to be able to call the market. The UK index is up very slightly this morning. Markets were pretty flat last week. We see here last week the candle was fairly flat. The week before was a stronger week, and so a little bit of uncertainty just sitting there at the moment. I'm seeing the UK midcaps just breaking higher last week, so that's looking a bit better. Still got work to do on the long-term chart, though. In Germany, we're up 0.1% this morning, and bullish on short and medium term. We've got a new 1% upside target, so we're just edging higher. We have been a bit flat. We need to break higher to break out of that consolidation. And the CAC Quarante is also flat this morning, so no big change there either. Japan was up 1.3%. That weaker yen against the dollar helping a little bit. So we're still looking quite good in the short and medium term. Got work to do on the long term. Hang Seng. Little changed, is down slightly. China down 1/3%, but with the gains that we've seen over the last several weeks in China, that's all very livable with. And then if we look at the Sensex in India, where we've had the elections, which is a long process in India, we see here that we're up 0.3% this morning. We'll take a look at the individual stocks. Lots of upside targets on the Indian market. Still probably the best major market in terms of stocks at the moment. The Aussie market little changed as well. Brent crude is sitting at $71.40. Was nudging $72 last week, so we are still bullish on all three time frames. We've got good upside targets here. 3 upside targets really does suggest that we will see Brent crude rise higher. WTI also looking quite interesting. Not as many upside targets, and we do have a downside target, so that spread may open out a bit more. Taking a look at nat gas, we see we're pushing lower here with $2.64, so it's in the doldrums. Ever since that hike and fallback last year, we've just really stuck at around this level. Gold is sitting at 1287, so we're bearish on that short-term chart, just falling away there on gold. Silver also is bearish on the short-term chart. US 10-year yields on the yield, we jumped on Friday, and we're sitting at 2.57%. So we are seeing a little bit of a move there. Still bearish in the medium-term chart, and it's a little bit too early to say that the long-term chart has turned bearish on that lagging line, although the price is through, obviously. German bond prices, not the yields, are sinking lower as the yields increase. So yields go up, price of the bonds go down. So we're seeing weaker bonds in Germany as a result. Taking a look at the stocks themselves, we see here, just looking at, this is Yahoo Finance now. Looking here, we see the the international indices, US was green on Friday, mostly up this morning in Europe, and Asia pretty good apart from Hong Kong and China. If we look at the Dow 30 first of all, Walt Disney was the big riser on Friday. Massive jump there, 11.5%. That will have been a big driver for the rise in the Dow being higher at 1%. So that was really the story on Friday. Walt Disney just jumping. Lots of upside targets there as well to play for, given and met. So quite interesting that happened. Taking a look at the downside, we had United Healthcare down 5%. So Pharma's woes still continue. Apple little changed, and banks of course were out last week. So we had JP Morgan, they were up quite strongly on Friday, up 4.7%. These are big moves. We had Goldman Sachs up 2.5% as well, and Boeing also just recovered a little bit after a terrible month really, but not enough to take the chart bearish in that terrible month, but we are just now finding some support. Be interesting to see how Boeing copes from here. Taking a look at the Nasdaq, if we just look for the best performer, Checkpoint Software up 3.6%, and then on the downside, we had Netflix down 4%. Not really enough to change the chart significantly, but it's interesting that Netflix was the worst performer. Taking a look at the Australian market for Monday, we had Bavaria Solutions up 7%, so that's quite significant. Nudging new highs, quite a chart here, and we've outperformed the Dow Jones Index so far this year by 27%. So quite a stock. Looking at the other side of the coin, Pendle Group down 8%. So that's not a great looking chart. And Bellamy's Australia, that's been in the leaderboard quite a lot, or the laggards we're seeing here just selling off a bit. Quite a lot of volatility there in the stock. China was fairly mixed. It was down, of course, so we should see more red there. The Indian market, and here we see the live prices just coming through now from Yahoo. Tata Motors is the best performer, up 6%. That's a real turnaround. Now we've got some good upside targets. Keep an eye on those. Coal India up 3.8%. Some pretty big rises here. Tata Steel up 3.6%. Looking at the downside, we've got Infosys down 2.87%, but the chart's still looking pretty good. Sun Pharmaceuticals also being hit. We're seeing pharmaceutical stocks globally really being hit still, so that's quite key. In Europe this morning, we take a look first of all at the UK market. WPP is the best performer, up 1.7% this morning. Starting to look like it might be just a turnaround, a shortage of upside targets. We will get one off this thrust, but we can see the relatives yet to show any big improvement. Kingfisher up 1.6%. They're starting to look a little bit better too in terms of a turnaround, and we do have some upside targets there. On the downside, Compass Group down 2.4%, and Fresnel down 1.1%. And then we see the live pricing coming in again from Yahoo Finance. Taking a look at the FTSE 250, IWG Regis as was sold the Japanese division overnight, so that's driving the share price much higher this morning, up 18%. Nvidia, which is in the news a lot last week on this US fine potential, actually up 7% this morning, so a little bit of a relief rally, but the chart still looks pretty terrible. On the downside, we've got Acacia Mining Group down 4% and SSP down 3%. So the chart's still looking reasonable, but needs to break out there. Looking at the Euro stocks, in the Eurostoxx 50, BNP Paribas up. Banks all benefiting really. Barclays was in the leaderboard in the UK. Banks benefiting from these US results. JP Morgan results driving that higher. We've got SocGen as well, Intesa, ING Group, Banco Santander. So the top five groups, so 5 stocks, all banks, and so we're seeing banks very strong there this morning. On the downside, we've got Nokia down 2.4%, and that's starting to look a little bit worrying on that chart. Eni in Italy also down 0.6%, not really a massive move there. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.